Are you ready?
Yeah.
Have a sutra book.
Oh, so nice.
Nice. Okay. So hello everyone. Now we will start today's one. Okay. So first we will recite true words spoken by Buddha. Now three chapters. Some might come late, but we should start now. The true words spoken by Buddha. Yuho Okan. There used to be the light in the great universe. The light is the energy of Buddha. People can live by this energy. And the Buddha's energy has made human history. It receives a light eternal. This eternal light comes from heaven and prevails on earth. This is the light of heaven. Through the prism of Buddha, there appear the seven colors of rainbow, arching over in the sky. Here you can see Buddha's mercy. Yellow is the color of teaching. White is the color of saving. Red is the color of justice. Purple is the color of obedience. Blue is the color of thinking. Green is the color of harmony. Silver is the color of progress. These seven colors help each other, and there appears Buddhaland. Buddhaland is shining brightly because of gathering of bodhisattvas. This is the land of love or the land of mercy. This is the land of wisdom or land of teaching. Especially, this is the land of souls rest in peace. Real souls are the children of Buddha. The children of Buddha became real human beings. Real human beings have spirituality. The spirits are immortal powers. The spirits are immortal forces. The spirits are real entities. The physical bodies are the shadows of the spirits. It means you are the boat sailing down the great river. The great river is a symbol of the course of lives. Each of you sails down as a small boat. So you need a boatman. If it is not for your own boatman, you surely go aground. This boatman really means your mind. If your mind makes a mistake, the boat breaks into pieces by a large rock, and you also need a bamboo pole. This pole is the meaning of the true words. When you go down a rapid stream, you need to plunge in the stream. Then you can change your course. The true words mean the teaching of Buddha. Buddha enlightened and spoke the true words, and the Buddha's teaching became a gold mine. These gold mines suggest various teachings. These are another expression of Buddha's truth. It brightens up your days, or to put it another way, the fruit of Buddha's mercy. All of you now here listen to me. Never lose your way, now and forever. The guiding hand has already waved. Please follow this white hand and go straightly on and on. Your lives are not limited to this world only. There are three aspects: the past, the present, the future. Your past have already gone by. Yet your mistakes will be kept in your minds. That is the reason why you should understand other people, and you yourself should reflect on what you have done. You and others are not different. On the contrary, both the children of Buddha and the brothers and sisters. Now then, love each other. Let us bring up each other, and it is time to forgive each other. This is eternal law, which penetrates the present and the future. Yes, indeed, the light of the dark night. The dark night of this world is hell. It is also the same in another world. Since we came down to this world, the sun of the truth is scheduled to rise. Now we are watching rising sun. It will shed light to the future to invite the sad people to Buddhaland. Now here I command, there shall not be conflict in this world. There shall not be distrust in this world. There shall not be pride in this world. There shall not be evil spirit in this world. There shall not be the devil in the next world. Only the ideal world, utopia, shall be realized. All of the people love each other, live harmoniously, believe in one another. That world is utopia. All of us could be the light of bodhisattvas, believing that light has reality, believing that love has reality, believing that the truth has reality. These are the facts that should be conveyed. We, the light of bodhisattvas, get together, work together to keep right mind and live in tune with Buddha's words. Here we vow to do so. Okay.
Let's go to the
Toilet?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. So let's start today's one. And then today I'd like to talk about this. Historical awareness. Post-World War II second system is absolute goodness. That is a question. Yeah, we believe that is a great one. Yeah, at some point, very good, right? And yeah, we know the freedom,
right.
and we remove after World War II, we remove the racial hatred and racial discrimination, and also democracy in every country, especially in the Western world. So that is a great point. I
Yeah.
believe so. But so how about the other points? We need to check. So today, through the historical incidents, what will happen after World War II? We will check it, okay, through the Master Oka's opinion, not my viewpoint. Okay?
Yeah.
Through the viewpoint of Master Okawa, El Cantare, and what's happening behind the scene. So before then, let's dedicate our sincere gratitude to Lord El Cantare.
まあ、そういう固い言葉に語れないような大宇宙の日本を彼は知ることができる。まあ、自分が法であるということをして、仏法をそうと言うけれども、ブッダとは何かといえば法である。ブッダは法である。ブッダは見るものは法を見る。法を見るものはブッダを見ると言われている。だからブッダそのものを捕まえて、ブッダが持ったものをブッダと呼んでもダメで、ブッダのその法を見れば、そのブッダの法が実はブッダそのものなんだ。法を見るものはブッダを見るものは法を見る。ということで、ブッダの法からブッダとは何かを知らなければならない。ですから、あなた方にとく本物の信仰とは何かというと、すべての宇宙の秘密まで迫りつつ、皆さんは現在、今ある理由、そして今どこにいるのかということを知らしめるところまで行く教えです。で、それを解けるのは一人しかいません。それをエルカンタリというので今読んでいます。そのただ一人しか解けないエルカンタリの方、エルカンタリとエルカンタリの方と、エルカンタリの方をまっとうにご一致していこうとしている集団、そんなに対する消える心をお持ちください。それは消えしない限り学ぶことができないものなんです。この学校で全く教えてくれないんです。この学者は教えてくれないんです。他の宗教でも学ぶことができないんです。ましてやテクノロジーの進化によってそれが解明されることはありえないんです。絶対にないんです。明快がこれをの利便性を待つことはできる。その宇宙の日本語では絶対にとどまらない。これは信仰のみによって知ることができるものなんです。
much. So then, let's watch the master's lecture. Importance of exploration of the right mind. In this lecture, of course, he talked about how to explore your mind. But if you get that right mind, then you can see everything from the viewpoint of God. So, and then even the history, you can realize how fabricated the history is now.
Right.
So, and then you can watch this explanation on Masani Okawa. For example, Japanese history, why Japanese people stood up
Right.
to against European America. Okay, so please listen to him first. It will take 10 minutes or something.
Okay. When judging something, we need to take a look at the whole world and see the history of the world. We need to know whether history will simply repeat itself, or if people will learn lessons from it. Although it's fine for China to insist on its own view of history, we need to know clearly that one side alone can't be totally in the wrong. For example, there are actually many countries in Asia that were able to gain independence after World War II. In reality, the people of Hawaii, which was governed by America, do not speak ill of them. However, countries that were ruled by Europe, be they African or Asian, were treated very badly and have not become at all affluent. In light of this, the fact that many countries in Asia were able to gain their independence was truly a significant outcome. In the last World War, nearly 3 million Japanese died, and even though such noble sacrifice was required, Japan tried to expand its mission on a global scale. In this light, from an international perspective, I do not think it is fair to report the Japanese Prime Minister's visit to Yasukuni Shrine as if it were a ceremony to bring back the devil. And if America has a weak Secretary of Defense who jumps at that sort of criticism, I'd say that there's a problem with America's view of history. Considering the good relationship we've had for the last 70 years since the war, I think the time has come for America to acknowledge unjust aspects of the last World War and to properly acknowledge the aspect that there was justice to Japan's cause as a war of defense. Unless America acknowledges this, Japan cannot refute the interpretations of China and South Korea, and a correct view of history will remain obscure. The Tripartite Pact was originally the Anti-Comintern Pact, signed between Japan, Germany, and Italy to prevent the spread of communism. If so, the question arises as to why America fought against communist countries like the Soviet Union and China after World War II. America is the world's most powerful country, but as a consequence of its power, it needs to think about what historical recognition means, and it's also important for America to take a good look at itself. By doing this, it could probably extinguish the hatred which stems from different views of history held by Asian countries, and extinguish the seeds for a future war. That is why I dare say, not just to China and South Korea, but also to America as well. Let's take a look at the last war once more, fair and square. When the UN Charter was written in 1945, it clearly stated that all racial discrimination must be abolished. However, it's obvious that discrimination still existed after the war. While President Kennedy was still alive, people like Reverend Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement. It was nearly 20 years after the war that he made the I Have a Dream speech. How he dreamed of a day when his children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. A day when they would join hands with white people. Equality hadn't yet been realized at that time. From a perspective like this, the last World War probably looks different. There must have been quite the racial prejudice. We must correct this and create a uniform global standard. It's true that there are ethnic gods for each country and they protect their nation's interests. But there are also gods who transcend the ethnic gods and guide people with a more universal awareness. For example, the countries which blame Japan for causing them great damage in the last war insist that all deities that claim to be Japanese gods are demons and that they were invaded by demons. But in reality, we've made it clear that this was not the case. Perhaps I'm the first person since the war to state this clearly, that the war was based on the views of the Japanese gods. What's more, I go as far as to say that their opinions were not based simply on a Japanese ethnic way of thinking. In fact, the last war was a revolution to put an end to white supremacy and create a society where blacks, Asians, and Caucasians are fundamentally equal. We must not forget this aspect. There was a different aspect from that of the confrontation between Judaism and Christianity as seen in Hitler's slaughter of the Jews. Those who accept this statement may not be a major power yet. But I believe that a bright future will open up if Japan takes its rightful place in the world, voices what needs to be voiced, does what needs to be done, and in various ways serves as a breakwater between Asia and the world. All this while cooperating with America in a constructive way for world peace. Mouthpieces of the left wing may continue to voice harsh criticism, but they're not evil in essence. They're simply trying to maintain the post-war system. The point is, they're conservative in that they want to protect what they were led to believe after the war. However, that era is now coming to an end. So we must break down the citadel of the left wing and make them call for a bloodless surrender. This will not only increase the authority and influence of the Japanese people, but also give them heavier duties and responsibilities. I believe that our way of thinking and mission as a global religion will underpin those duties and responsibilities. As a religion, we intend to take responsibility for the world. We're aiming to create a world where we can exchange opinions while amending the parts of the religions in the world that are mistaken. In that process, we may encounter various difficulties or backtrack due to confrontations in this world. We may sometimes be criticized. There's also the possibility that I myself may perhaps be called a representative of the devil. I will perhaps be called that if we tell people around the world of what I have just said. South Korea and China might call me that too. However, the people of South Korea and China will certainly be happy in the future if they follow my words. It will become possible for them to create a future where they can prosper in freedom and in happiness. Success will never come unless you abandon hatred and choose love. You cannot be happy simply by making money. I want to state clearly that I do have the authority to judge right and wrong on this matter. There is nothing strange about my having been born in a small island nation in the Orient. Jesus was born in Israel, a small region that was practically a colony, and in its final days. Buddha, too, regardless of the fact that he was the prince of a country, was born in a small, weak province, one of India's 16 provinces, one that later perished. Moses, too, after he fled mighty Egypt with about 600,000 slaves, spent decades of his life wandering, trying to create a country. In an objective sense, their conditions were not necessarily favorable. I believe that the future will surely open up in the direction indicated by the words I speak. So I want you to believe in my words and make an effort in that direction. Please push forward regardless of any worldly difficulties which may come to you. What is important is the way the future turns out to be as a result of your efforts. I state clearly that we have no intention of attacking other countries or of enslaving or controlling them. Some people in African countries say that when they read the teachings of happy science, they can fully understand how to create a country. They're absolutely right, and that's what I'm teaching. I'm teaching how to create a country. Although at the start, there was a premise that the post-war system was good, there are quite a few aspects which have greatly changed since then. We need to acknowledge those aspects and correct the parts that need revising. I want Japan to be able to speak out more assertively about such matters. The disciplined exploration of the right mind is an endless path for each and every human being. What happens when we practice this in real life? As we practice this in real life, we'll encounter various obstacles. What kind of way of thinking should we have to overcome them each time? How can we overcome each reaction and persuade others? Our new projects, such as our schools, political party, and international missionary work, are the actual opportunities to put this into practice and make it happen. The right mind will manifest in these areas. Ultimately, it is the work of happy science to prove on which side the truth stands. In that sense, I consider that our Spiritual Messages series also play a role to some extent. The righteous must be strong. There are national borders. There may be differences in nationality and ethnicity, but there's simply an expedient way to divide up and govern this world so we can live in autonomous societies. I believe that humans, in their essence, are guaranteed their equality as children of God, and that all things must be resolved as we progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very shortly, he described how that world and the world view fabricated by team win, that is the winners of the world second, and the mass media. Okay, and then the conclusion of his of the post-World War is here. This is the conclusion, as he said. In fact, the last war, in what the Japanese military tried to do was revolution to put an end to white supremacy and create a society where blacks, yellows, whites, Asian people and African people, and also Caucasians, were fundamentally equal and make friends each other. Okay, not exclude other racial people, but those are equal, opportunity of equal. Okay, so there was a different aspect from a confrontation between Judaism, Christianity, and Hitler's slaughter of the Jews. So this is from the lecture, the importance of exploration of the right mind.
Yeah.
This already published, but yesterday I try to search it, but in this temple already sold out. So I will import again, okay? But anyway, this is the conclusion. Then I will prove why it is a true, okay? Through that I know that you have some kind of knowledge, but the knowledge itself is a kind of fabricated, okay? So, and then I will show you what is that through some master's lecture. And if you want to know more about details, I suggest you to read the Laws of Justice or any other political books. Okay, so then he always described how history was have been, how history has been fabricated by any other people with bad conspiracy. Anyway, okay, first, you know, in the world of the Versailles system, Versailles system, that was established after World War I and completed by the peace treaty of the First World War. Japan participated as a permanent member of the International League established in 1920. And as 50 years from the Meiji Restoration, this Meiji Restoration is a kind of the revolution in Japan. Okay, the emperor has restored his position. So, and then Japan was decided to be counted as one of the most powerful countries. So that is a fact at that time, after World War I. Then, what Japan has did. So, at that time, just after World War I, around 1920, I will show you one of maps. What is the situation of the world? Do you know? I think you are educated well. That's why you know that.
Right.
What's happening after World War I? What do you think? What happened after World War I?
What happened after World War?
First, what the situation of the world?
Well, I think it after World War I, I thought it went backwards. Like nothing was resolved.
Okay.
It was a very devastating war, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Some and things like
nothing
that was
was-
very, very bad war.
Yeah.
Quite a few million people and soldiers died.
that's good.
You're right.
Okay, I will show you one of maps.
I know it didn't pan out well.
Yeah, because among the European countries, there
Yeah.
was a big war between the almost Western people and Russia and also other countries. Okay? And also Deutschland, Germany.
Right.
Then after World War II, World War First,
Yeah.
this happens. Do you know this map?
No.
No.
But
Red countries means colonized by European countries and the US.
colonized.
By European countries and also America.
America.
Okay, almost all countries divided by European countries and America.
Yeah.
Why was that, Tetsu?
Yeah, because at that time, the America, European countries have a big power.
Yeah, because then because that's when like places like Ivory Coast and everywhere and Sierra Leone were colonized by the French,
Yeah.
and then we were colonized by the English.
That's true.
Yeah.
Then all of the American continent and also black means independent countries. At that time, Korea belonged to Japan.
Okay.
It was white.
White is like half colonized, but influenced by European or
I
America.
see.
Okay, so white means China and a part of Egypt or something, and also Thailand, Japan, and Turkey. Only three countries, and who are colored people
Right.
and independent. Three countries only
Only three.
among the Asia and Africa. Okay, others almost all countries are colonized by Europe.
All red.
All red. That is the reality. Okay, I don't have any intention about it, but this is we need to remember. That is the situation. Then what Japan did?
Well, where is the Japan in that one?
Japan.
That is the black.
Black, yeah. Okay? Well, I will explain later. Then, more detailing the Asian countries. Like this. There is the Russian power,
Yeah.
and then England power, French power, and France, England, Netherlands, England, Russia, like this, and the US. Almost divided by all those countries, the European countries and America. Okay, that is called. They said, white is the supreme than any colored people. So
Yeah. So it didn't go. It went backwards, basically.
right, that is the imperialism.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's white.
So governed by those Europeans and American countries, just 100 years ago. So we need to remember that. Then, what Japan tried to do is here. Almost all countries in the world were colonized by Western white countries. And then, right after World War I, the racial equality proposal was an amendment to the treaty under the consideration at the 1990 Paris Peace Conference offered by the Empire of Japan. No, you know that? Maybe
No.
in the historical class in European countries, they have never thought about it.
No, I was not come across.
This is a historical fact,
I
Very
didn't
good.
know that.
right? Because like, education sometimes fabricated. So this is a fact. Japan did.
Very
Then,
good.
though broadly supported, almost all countries belong to the United Nations supported this idea and agree with that. But it did not become part of the Treaty of the Versailles. You know, largely because of the opposition of UK, Australia, and the United States.
Right.
And then they said, almost all treaty or almost all treaty should be agreed with all countries. Then this is a very important proposal.
Right.
Like it is called racial equality proposal.
Yeah.
It is very important. That's why later on we will decide. That's what UK, United Kingdom,
Yeah.
and also United States, and also Australia government told the people, and they stop the meeting, stop the conference
Right.
without discussion, just forced stop.
Yeah.
And then they made another treaty Treaty of Versailles. Okay, we need to remember that. Then, since then, 1920, Japan was regarded as an enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, because they try to break the status quo.
Yeah.
That is called white supremacy.
Okay.
At that time, still 1920, that treaty, that idea, white supremacy, was common sense of the world because white people conquered almost all countries. So then they throw away such kind of like racial equality. Then Japan was regarded as enemy for the European countries and America.
That's right.
And that is same as happened in this world.
Yeah.
That is Russia now. So all mass media, the European countries, the NATO countries especially, including America, try to push Russia into the corner. The other was regarded as enemy. That's why try to push Japanese government into the corner. Same happened. And
Yeah.
then all mass media said Japan is a bad country who invaded.
Yeah. Yeah. They highlighted all
invaded other Asian.
in order to suppress
Yes. Okay.
Japan.
So and then the Japan was surrounded by those countries because of this.
Yeah.
Propose the racial equality proposal. That means for the European countries, America,
Yeah.
This is the conspiracy by Japan, who try to take the land from European countries, from Asia and Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then that is a different point we learned as education. Okay, so and we need to know the reality. That's why Master said, now is the time.
To know
Already
history.
80 years have passed
Yeah.
since World War II. Why don't America and the European countries admit this fact?
Yeah.
You did bad things. You did wrong idea. Yeah. Then he proposed that. Otherwise, we humankind cannot stand up and cannot go through the great era. Okay. So then also maybe you are taught like that Korea was oppressed by Japanese government, something like that. Maybe. Do you know that?
Huh?
The history of Korea.
Yeah.
Korea, Japanese government oppressed the country and take their land and oppress the people in Korea. But I will tell you the fact.
Oh, okay.
I know.
You know? Great.
There's a conspiracy against Japan.
That's true. Then how about Korea? Why and how Japanese government colonized Korea? Okay, so modern Western people think the Japanese government has terribly occupied the control of the Korea for 35 years. But the fact is, from the beginning of human history to 1897, they are part of China. They had been part of China.
Yeah.
Part of China.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
because
what I understood from you
Yeah.
before.
before,
Yeah, that's what I understood.
until 1897.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so because every year the Korean government paid a tax to China,
China.
Mm.
Okay.
and then Chinese government. That means colony. Okay,
Yeah.
if it's independent, then they should not pay the tax to China without anything. Okay, so then after the war between Japan and China, because Japanese government thinks that Korea should be independent and they are brothers. So that's why they encourage to make the first country in Korea. Then 1897,
Yeah.
Japan encouraged Korean people, Korean king to be emperor. Okay, and then Empire of Korea had been established at that time. That is a fact.
Right.
That is the first time for Korean people to be independent, 1897. So, encouraged by Japanese victory toward China. So, at that time, most people think that China has a hidden power, and then Japan will be defeated by China at that time. But Japan got a great victory toward China. Then Korea create the first empire in their own peninsula,
Right.
Korean peninsula,
Right.
till 1910. For 13 years, but why it was destroyed? The Korean government cannot manage anything.
Cannot manage.
Because first time for them to be independent, even if the emperor stood up and also tried to create a great country,
Yeah.
but they are not educated by anything like very well.
Right.
They could not be educated very well, and then some government people like cheated the Japanese government and try to neutrate with China and Russia.
Right.
They cheated the Japanese government, betrayed Japanese people who encourage and make great country, and they exchange even the princess to princess. Each other.
Like make trades.
Yeah, because
Trade
like
deals with,
Japanese government show everyone this is equal. Now Japan and Korea becomes equal. We independent from the influence under the China.
Right.
But at that time, there are people in the government of Korea, still they don't want to be independent.
Right.
Because they want to rely on big power.
Right.
So those people try to betray Japanese government and try to have a new treaty with Russia or China. Then new war almost happened. Then if Korea occupied by China or Russia, I will show you that map. What will happen? In this situation, this is critical, like Cuba toward America. And then if they, Russian power or other England power or Chinese power come to this peninsula,
Yeah.
very disaster will happen to Japan. Okay, that's why they try to put the government here instead of Korean people.
Yeah.
That happened 19.
Mm.
1910. Okay, then some Korean people, government people, agree with that, including the emperor of Korea. We have to be guarded by Japanese power. They choose Japan instead of Russia or China or England. And then they said that is the best choice to be guarded by Japan.
Right.
Agree with that, not forced by anyone.
Yeah.
And then they choose to be the colonized 1910. Then Japan said, until you have a good education and to be independent, we will guard you. Because at that time, the Japan and Asia,
Yeah.
as you know, colonized by all countries, colonized by European or American power.
Yeah.
The crisis happened. The same as Russia now. Okay, so if NATO countries expanded their treaty
Yeah.
to Ukraine or Finland or something like that, same thing happened to
Yeah.
Russia. Okay, that's why, as Masa said, Putin also tried to compromise with Zelensky, Ukraine. We will put the autonomous country inside of Russia. That's why, please stop being the part of NATO.
Yeah.
But Zelensky denied it. Same thing happened. So that's why they started war. But at that time, Japan has never started a war. Instead,
Korea.
try to
Yeah.
make
To
a
manage.
new
Yeah.
treaty with Korea.
Korea.
And then Japanese style of colonization is quite different with European one and American one.
Yeah.
I will show you
Right.
what's happening at that time as colonization. Those are written in the master's books, please read this. Okay, anyway, how was the policy of the colonization of the West? How was Japanese one? Let's compare. The West had taken land and life in their colonies and made colored people slaves for more than 500 years.
500 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Then, on the other hand, and also the detailing is here. Western nations denied education in the interest of colonial rule.
Very much right.
Yeah, right. And the Western nations denied education to make sure that population under their colonial control couldn't read or write, right? And in the deliberate policy of keeping the population ignored,
Absolutely.
all right?
Yeah.
This was done to prevent the population from gaining the intellectual level and the ethnic consciousness to the point where the independence movement can form. A typical example of this is the policy that the Netherlands enforced in Indonesia. Not only did they deny them learning Dutch, they prevented them from uniting their various local dialects. Okay. So this was happened. And also,
What a crime.
yeah, crime.
What a
Yeah.
crime they did it to.
Yeah, this is absolute crime. Okay. And then aim of Western colonialism was the steel wealth also.
It's my experience.
Right? And then they appropriated gold and silver,
And
put
diamonds.
locals, yes, diamonds, locals in forced labor to produce materials such as rubber, cotton, and coffee, like that. They were then used as raw materials for domestic industries as well as for export products, in which in turn would net the colonizing powers with enormous profits.
For them to pocket.
Yeah, to pocket.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them to pocket. And they take it out of our countries
That's true.
into their countries
Yes.
and sell as byproducts of their own.
That's true. For instance, Britain used the cotton made in India to drive the individual revolution, in industrial revolution. Okay,
Yeah.
and in order to crush the competitive cotton handcraft industry that was prevalent in India at that time, the British went so far as to resort to cruel practice as cutting off the hands of the cotton artisans.
It happened to my relatives as well.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it happened.
Furthermore, they cultivated the poppy to make opium and sold them to China. Then China was broken. Okay, so and then even after independence, many former colonial territories are left with the industrial structures that can only produce either raw materials or amenities of life, and continue to suffer from food shortages and economic stagnation. Okay, that was like a side effect of the colonial.
Similar way of thinking.
Yeah.
And they did it.
But how about the Japanese colonization? Okay, I will show you some evidence.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Big difference between Japan colonization and
And
other
Western.
colonization. Yes. And then Japan gave Koreans the right to vote and hold the office. Okay, actually. Where the colony, the people of the colony does that, Japan did it, okay, gave them the right to vote. Then, for Koreans in Japan, voting rights and the right to hold office were recognized early on. And from 1930, it was possible to enter the ballot in Hangul. Hangul means Korean language.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hangul, yeah, that is the Korean language.
Yeah.
Furthermore, from 1930s, many Koreans in Japan declared a candidacy for the House of Representatives, with some being elected to become members of parliament in Japan.
What they call humanity.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Gave land to Koreans without paying by Japanese tax. Okay. Gave lands. Who else can do it to people in another country?
Well, the Americans did, but not just after the Second World War II,
Oh.
because they stole from them
stole.
in the First World, First World War
Mhm.
from the Red Indians.
And also, yes, Native Indians.
And, yes,
Native
from the Native
Americans.
Indians.
They give the name Red Indian.
From the Mexicans and the Red Indians.
That's right. Gave land to Koreans. The marriage of loyalty to Korea, I already told you. Like after the annexation of Korea by Japan, to show that Koreans would be treated equally to Japanese. Japan married off the Masako Nashimoto no Miya of the Japanese imperial family to Crown Prince Eun of Korea.
Oh, wow. So they equalized.
Yes, equalized.
Yeah,
No
To show.
defense of loyalty and
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they show
way of thinking.
equality as evidence that royal family is a kind of a symbol for the people.
And,
And exchange it. That's clear evidence how Japanese government think equality very well. And then, and the British did the exact opposite of that. Where upon the colonizing Burma, they made a queen of the dynasty. They destroyed Mali, a common Indian soldier.
That's true.
yeah, they,
Moreover, Indian soldier had a wife, and so the queen was treated as a mistress.
Yeah.
That's how. Very opposite, right?
totally opposite.
Totally opposite.
All about class.
Yes. Built many schools in Korea. Japan paid for that by their own tax. Okay. So, in contrast to Western educational policy, Japan thought that education was essential for the modernization of Korea and made it a policy to build schools throughout Korea. As a result, while there were only 100 schools before Korean annexation, 6,000 elementary schools were built after annexation. Okay, and then the 1% attendance rate increased to 6.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Excellent.
very low actually before colonization, 1%, but increased to 61% by 1943.
Very
Yeah, and then furthermore, before the Imperial University country, Osaka University was built in Osaka. Before in Japan, they built a university in Korea. They prioritize the education to Korea than Japan. Amazing, right? Because they think that very well how we Japanese encourage the Asian people independent. Education is the essence. That's why to do so they colonize Korea, not their conspiracy or their desire, worldly desire. Because of this intention, they encourage Korean people to be independent. That's what happened.
That was the great idea of Japan.
And also,
That's
not
why
only
they
that,
came to Burma.
I know some people who come from Korean Peninsula become a general. One of generals is a Korean former president. That is Mr. Park. Okay, Mr. Park. Right after World War II, he was he said the general means the top of the army.
Right.
That was came from Korea.
Yeah,
Yeah, before World War II, who can do it?
I know.
Right? And then, example, learning mother language system at school was introduced by Japanese. Because at that time, I said 1% people can write down their own language.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Japan taught Japanese that was an international language and introduced Hangul. Hangul is a
It's the
letters,
it's the
okay?
Korean language.
Yeah, the fact that Japan taught Japanese to Korean is sometimes described as an attempt to control culture. However, Japan's language policy was for the modernization of Korea. Both
Which is absolutely,
Japanese and Hangul.
which
both.
makes sense because they
Mhm. Yeah,
don't trade.
Yes. And then, in fact, Hangul writing used in both North and South Korea was normalized by Japan. Before then, just 1%. Okay, not normal.
Yeah.
And then Yukichi Fukuzawa, that is one of the big here in Japan, stated, as with Japanese writing, which mix the kanji, if they can read kanji writing, kanji the Chinese character,
Right.
Chinese character writing, the masses can be enlightened. Yeah, discovering the potential of Hangul that was not being used by the masses at the time. With that, the Korean governor's office led the organizing of the Hangul alphabet, which was later used in Korean textbooks. I will show you the evidence for that. This is what I mean. Evidence.
Yeah.
At that time, this is written. Okay.
That's Hangul.
This is like hiragana, katakana, like Japanese one. This one Hangul. Both they show.
So, oh, that's good.
And even the elementary school children can learn both Japanese and Korean own language, their own language. So that is the most improved education in the world at that time. Yeah, elementary school children can learn both language at the same time. That is a very revolutionary idea in all over the world. Even America or other European countries didn't do that. Okay, both languages they can learn. How blessed they are.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
True.
And
I
then,
agree.
yeah, that's why the people in the Korean Peninsula can speak, right after the World War II, can speak Japanese and Korean both.
Right.
Still,
Yeah, still. And then, also, nurtured Korean economy by Japanese money. They created dam by Japanese money. Okay, and also that is like a factory. The Hagnan developed as a newly industrialized city.
In Korea.
Yeah, in Korea.
Yeah.
Both dams and some factories. Yes, factories.
That's
For-
why Korea
yeah.
is very industrialized now.
Yeah. So and then from the 1936 to 1945, okay, they created Japan created those things, and also, okay, majority railwork networks laid down by Japan start from 1936. Before 1936, there was no railway.
No railway.
No
In
railway.
Korea.
Yeah, in Korea. Then Japan laid down the railway network by their own money. Okay, Japanese money.
They didn't help.
Yeah, and the Koreans, this is one of the mountain in the North Korea. Koreans having become affluent, enjoying such recreations like skiing
Yeah.
and photos from Japanese government era. All right.
Excellent.
Japan tried to give everything what they can do at that time. Then also make schools and also buildings like this. That is the Keijo Station, the currently Seoul Station, built during the era of Japanese governments.
That was a school.
Station.
Station.
At
Station.
that time.
Yeah, at that time. Station in the Korea. Because there was no rail station, that railway, and then Japan built the many stations and railways by their own money. So, all right.
Very, very human.
All right. Same thing happened in Taiwan also.
Taiwan.
Taiwan, that is the island. Now,
Yeah.
please remember, Taiwan has never belonged to China.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
That was not.
Just a small island. And then China and Japan have never treated that island as their own. But
Yeah.
after also victory of the war between Japan and China, Taiwan people decided to belong to Japan by their own will.
Okay.
Okay, then I don't need.
Yeah.
Please read it later. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the same thing happened in Taiwan. So that's why we dare tell you. The Master Oka mentioned about this and laws of justice. Okay, and if you read through some political books written by Master Okawa, common sense will be changed like this.
Right.
In fact, the last war, in what the Japanese military tried to do was a revolution to put an end to white supremacy and create a society where blacks, yellows, and whites, I mean, the African people, Asian people, and the Caucasians in Europe and America were fundamentally equal. That is a revolution. That's why maps dramatically changed after World War II. Because they treated Japan as an evil existence, saying Japanese government tried to invade other countries that colonized very badly. But in fact,
Bad.
they
It's the
were
other way around.
worse.
Yeah.
And then all mass media after World War II developed their own eyes
Yeah.
and then watched over by mass media. That's why they have to remove the troops from India as a nation of Africa, and the African people and the Asian people has strong courage by the act of Japan, because at that time they knew the intention of Japan, what Japan did for the Asian countries and the other countries. And then Japan always support those people, and they also gave them some certain foundation. So and then paying tax by Japanese people. Okay, so there is a different aspect from that confrontation between Judaism and Christianity, right? And Hitler's slaughter of the Jews, quite different. Okay, so but unfortunately at that time there was no allies with Japan in Europe country, and there was no choice other than ally with Italy and Germany.
Right. Could I ask something though?
Yeah, okay.
There were rumors
Mhm.
and documentaries
Mhm.
about the camps
Camps.
that Japanese ruled.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
Evil propaganda.
yeah,
I know.
so I'm trying to understand where that comes into play.
Okay,
Around
then
the world,
I will show you one
yeah,
video
please.
about it. Okay, one of
Okay.
them. There are many rumors such as like disaster or like massacres and happened by Japanese government or Japanese soldiers. But I will show you one of evidence how they name one of them. So I will tell you the intention of. Okay, later I will talk about it. But anyway, I will show you one of the evidence about the Japanese the propaganda was. Okay, this one, so-called Nanking massacre. Have you ever heard about that?
Yeah, we spoke
I
about
heard
that.
that.
Yeah. Nanking massacre. This incident is the Japanese troop killed over
200,000.
200,000 Chinese, including Nanking citizens, in 6 weeks
I
from
don't
December
believe
13th, 1970.
I don't believe that.
No, I don't. Also, neither. Then I will show you the evidence.
Yeah.
Why this story
British propaganda.
ちょっとぶっちゃけた話、それ確かに気になる写真ですよ。ところが、人を殺戮するときに、ちょっと待って、どうしてまず写真撮れませんし、殺される前に記念に撮ってくださいっていう人もいないんですよ。
Can you see?
Yeah, yeah.
Photographs, 143 photographs remain as a proof of Nanking massacre. Like this. They built up this building. Victims, 300,000. And then 143 pictures displayed in the building. Chinese mass media insisted that they should apply. And China deals with Nanking on the same basis as Auschwitz and Hiroshima. China insists that it is necessary for people in the world to learn Nanking as never to repeat. Like that. However,
Okay.
they checked
一冊
everything.
の本が出版され話題を
A
呼
book
んでいます
related Nanking massacre was
南京事
published.
件証拠写真を検証すると題された
Verify
この本
evidence
の
of
結
photographs
論
of
は
Nanking massacre.
南京大虐殺が実際にあったことを裏付けるとされる
There
写
is
真
not
を
valid photo
証
to
拠として
prove
通
the
用するもの
existence
は
of
一
Nanking
枚も
incident
なか
at
っ
all.
た
この本の著者であるアジア大学教授の東中の修了
Mr. Higashinaka
アメリカでベストセラーになった
and he gathered all photos related to Nanking massacre. That contained books related to massacres including the name of Nanking, Iris Chan. He verified all photos published in those books. One,
例えば
for example, this
役
this
立つま
photo
で
which
に
explained whenever Japan
説明されているこ
when
の
the
写
issue
真
becomes a
しかし
reality.
実際は朝日版下地変画法の裏表紙である説明には民家で飼い込んだ鳥を首にぶら下げて前進する兵士
True caption that
この兵士が代価を払って購入したことが記されています
bought from Chinese farm. Second,
は負けるあった
it was mined midwinter at Japan. The soldiers and people in those photos wear summer clothes. I think that
取られたものとわかる
it turns out the photo was taken in the summer, obviously.
また、この写真のように中国人によるこの知識購入に用いられたことがすでに判明している写真も現在なお大虐殺の証拠写真として流布しているというのです。
一つがこの写真。この写真についてはこの中で言うと多分ね、デーブさんがもしですよ、仮説ですけども、もしこれね、説得できないようだと多分ね、欧米のメディアは説得できないと。だから言えば、まあ、この中でもう実物試験紙みたいなもんだと思うから、写真の件以上ね、先ですごく興味あるから、一つでありますから、これからお願いします。
これはですね、日本航空書
This photo was used with the actual record of Japan. This book was published by politics department, Chinese National Party.
これは
This was published in July 1938. In other words, this book according to photos experience village women who are taken by Japanese soldiers. They are women left by Japanese soldiers, Japan troops.
ところがですね、この場合
But it's not
実際に
original.
は元
This
写真という
original
のがあり
one
ま
was
して、
published with
知ら
another
ないの方
manuscript
でした
before.
が、今、朝日グラフですね、失礼しました。こ
これはもう現在の朝日のグラフ
Was
全
used
身
with
の
Asahi Glass
そう
published by in Japan.
これが昭和12年の11月10日に、
November 10th of 1973. Before 1973, even the photo was taken. And this photo is historical
写真
campaign.
説明を改ざんしました。
China changed the Asahi Glass original explanation and then this.
1年前に撮られてるわけや。
These two photos are quite the same,
一番前
right?
のどちらなんかは笑った笑顔
They're smiling.
ちょっと見
This
せ
room.
にくい。
はい
この方だから3番目の男性は、
More the third man shows that this one is this Japanese soldiers guarding the village people and took them back to their village.
ノースタイルの人を自宅に返して、こういう写真と理解されますね。でそれからまだありまして、
And for example, this is
これ
like
は実に大きな写真なんですが、これ現物ですね。これ現物ですね。これは
this one is original photo too. I found it at the
見つけた。
one shop
これがあれば、
This photo was used as a photo to plant with
写
actual
真として、密
report
かに転載されて、写真説明
Allied Japan's
キャプションを改ざん
Bible.
して、
China used this photo after changing the original caption from China's paper. Honda Katsuishi also used this photo as a
12年の10
planter.
月29日だから、要するに南京侵攻の2ヶ月前ですね。シナミンから帰り込んだ鳥を首にぶら下げて変身するというキャプションが。
そうですね。
The Japanese soldiers working with
逆にして撮るというか、我々はなんか、紹介な可能性がある。
skin. So he killed one of them. So then he did so.
朝日グラフですよね、朝日新聞社の。
Honda
バツイチはそれを知らなくて、
Asahi newspaper. Why did Honda Katsuichi use this photo in his
それは私は本田さん
Did
でご
he
ざいます
have
の
an
で、
intention? I don't know. I don't know Honda Katsuishi. But those photographs already evidence yes.
What about? I heard something about Chinese women being used as prostitutes by the Japanese.
Okay, that is another thing I will talk about it. Okay, later. There is a photo library of Asahi newspaper as any press. This photo library is Honda. Honda is one of the editor of the Asahi Shimbun, Asahi newspaper. Okay, that is a TV program in Japan. But also another one I will show you. This one. And
ちょっとぶっちゃけた話、それは確かに気になる。
I also think this photo
と
is
こ
a
ろが人を
story.
殺戮するときに、ちょっと待って、ポーズでまず写真撮れませんし、殺される前にいきなり撮ってくださいっていう人もいないんですよ。だからそういった本当に激しい場面だったら、そういった記録残る方がむしろおかしいじゃないですか。今、イラクみたいに何十回も見て持ってる時代じゃないので、かえって写真あった方がおかしいぐらいじゃないですか。だからこれで全くないっていうことは、断言していいかな。
ですから写真をですね、
I don't deny
して
I'm only checking.
そのことと内見で虐殺があったかなかったかという話は別次元の話なんですよ。別次元の問題としてまたこれは論ずべきなんです。でこれはあくまでも一つの歴史の研究として、どうしてもこれは避けては通れない検証作業なんです。今までそれが放置されているということでございますから、
ご一緒するのは何しかしらない。
People have a misunderstanding.
歴史を映してるもの
People believe these photos were taken 19 years
写真
ago.
として
You must not
そういうことですね。
visit the
ということは一枚残らずね、真実の写真
There
が
is
な
not
か
a
った。
photo from
私の
19 months
ですね、
ago.
手に入る写真すべ
We
てを
completed all photos that
そ
we
してあっ
could
たなかったとい
obtain.
うこととは別にして、
Apart from whether
この写真を果たして真
this
実
is
なの
not,
かどうな
we
のか、
checked whether each photo was a dark or not.
それから
And
この一
whether
枚の写真は
where
どこで初めて
and
出てきた
when
のか、写真はどこだったのか、
and where
こういう
resources
ものを使われていったのかということを全部の厳密にされたわけです。ですから、
grasp
一番最後の端末でですね、こういった一覧表を見せていただくと、一枚の写真がどの雑誌に使われているか
what name of magazine when the
でこの結果ですね、
picture
私
comes
の
from.
分かったことは、
As a result of our
1938年7月、内勤監
use
督が
this book
8ヶ
published
月
by
後のこのシナジーの中年の年に中国の国連と宣伝部が出版した戦争プロパガンダの本。この本に初めて写真が出てきた。しかも今言いましたように、 写真を改ざんして載せている。このことがですね、初めて明らかになってきました。これどういう写真か気づいてください。これは戦
This
後
is the famous photo of the baby crying on the railway after Japanese army is bombed.
日本軍の爆撃の後、
To explain why Japanese army bombed here, this place is a distribution station of goods. Japanese army selected this place as a start with the town. This photo was shot here by the sun.
この本を写した人が
This photo is one of the series of photos we have made. The reason why this man is staying here is this man brought this baby here. He brought this baby like he brought photos and he put the baby here. After that, the man took this
そ
photo.
して離れていってパシャッと撮ったわけですね。ところが一連のこの動画で撮っ
The
てる
movie
わけです
taken
ね。
and here remains in shot. We can say this photo was just
ただですね、
made.
やっと分かったんですが、これは撮影した人のだっておっしゃいました。これは王将亭という
The person who took this photo was Osho,
しかも国連邦宣伝部の
famous cameraman who belonged to the Chinese government. And yet he also belonged to the documentary department in China. For example, it is assumed that
写真がないからいけないんだけれども、こういった写真を
knew the wrong thing. They
許可し
had
て
no choice
使った
but
っていう捏造的
to
に使ったって
use
いう
this
ことはないですか。
photo.
全世界が間違ってて、日本だけ
One mistake of Japanese I didn't mean that
有名
Japanese
な写真が偽物だったということは、あれはそうとすると、彼ら今の論法だと、UFO は実際に存在するから、偽物写真を許されるんだっていう、そういう論法になってるよ。やろういけないそう言ってた。
Yawiji is one of the influence journalists. David Hans taught me one of which Sato. I believe with the Hanshin Higashiraka no some saying we cannot do that. In order to prove that the existence of Nagi massacre, China must offer evidence. Now that all photos that China offered turned out they were fake. It is natural that Sri Lanka Nagi actually, this is a common sense for all of us.
But they're very good at doing that, producing fake
Yeah, fake.
stuff.
Yeah,
They still do
Everyone.
that to today.
yeah. Like also today,
Yeah,
humans'
today.
sense is not different in
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, the Chinese are renowned for that.
Yeah.
Renowned for that.
This common sense for all of us. In order to continue to insist on the existence of Nagi massacre, China must prove evidence. Testimony and evidence are different. Testimony can tell a lie, but evidence cannot tell a lie.
Because evidence is evidence.
History is not religion. Therefore, it is dangerous to believe it blindly. The historical incident without evidence should be called legend. Okay.
True.
Okay. And according to you said prostitution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is also no evidence at all.
Okay.
No evidence. And this is true, like that.
I need to quickly get
Okay, sure. No evidence at all. So, and then if Korea insists that there was a prostitute who forced by Japanese government, they need to submit some evidence. Okay, but there's no evidence. And unfortunately, Japanese government sometimes make compromisation. So that is unfortunate for Japanese people. To make them calm and silent, Japanese government sometimes compromise with them. That's why Chinese government, the Korean government, did such kind of things. Okay, so how about comfort woman issue? That is your question, right?
Huh?
It is what you said, comfort woman issue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And let me introduce 3 kinds of documents. That's report researched by U.S. military in 1944 during World War II. That is first evidence. And also the report researched by American journalist Michael Young, who served in the U.S. Special Forces Green Belt in 2014. And the final report to the U.S. Congress on natural crimes and Japanese imperial government records, published in 2007 and authorized by the Intelligence Working Group, spent 7 years and $30 million to look into Nazi and Japanese war crimes. These documents have concluded that they could not find any war crime in Japanese military had done similar to US. And other countries did include the comfort women issue. No evidence at all. For 77 years, they researched from page to page. And also this one, report researched by US military in 1944. Among the World War II, they couldn't find any evidence of prostitute who was forced by Japanese government or Japanese military. Instead, Korean merchant forced some women to be prostitute at that time, to be prostitute. No Japanese government, Japanese are related to that at all. So those are evidence given by American government at that time, opponent to Japanese.
Korean men did it.
Korean merchant.
Okay, yeah.
Korean merchant
Yeah.
forced Korean lady to be like prostitute. Okay. So that was happened, but no Japanese government, no Japanese military related to this issue. That was already proven by America, who was opponent of Japan at that time. Even among the World War II, the U.S. government military researched, nothing happened. Nothing they couldn't find. But after World War II, they started insisted that Japan did bad things to Korean women. And then they said 200 or 300 Korean women forced to be prostitute, like that. But at that time, many Korean ladies forced by Korean merchant got big money and enjoy picnic.
So they chose.
Yeah, their choice, and then to get money. No one forced by Japanese government. Okay, same as Japanese prostitution or other countries prostitute. Okay, around the world, there were many prostitutes in every country. America, Greek, this country, UK. At that time, among the World War II, we found it. Okay, so and also this research among the World War II, why U.S. military researched the Japanese army? Because the crime rate of American military at that time more than 2%. 2 out of 100 soldiers did some crime. And the normal crime rate is 1% or 1.5%, something like that, and they're higher than normal. That's there, but as a research, as a result of research, Japanese military has crime rate that is 0.5%, much less than American crime rate. Then U.S. military thinks why it happened, the difference between American military and the Japanese military. Japanese military's crime rate much less than American military. Why it happened? That is the motivation for them to research Japanese crime rate or something in the military. Okay. But anyway, so in fact, the last war, in what Japanese military tried to do was revolution. To put an end to white supremacy and create a society where blacks, yellows, whites, I mean, African people, Asian people, and European people were fundamentally equal.
White.
Yes, from the lecture, importance of exploration of the white mind. That's why, yes, Buddha is coming to this earth as Japanese. If this tool by white people or European people, we cannot perceive people very well. But Japan at that time stood up to stop white supremacy and dedicate their lives.
They do.
3 million people sacrificed that war. But after World War II, many countries in Asia, Africa become independent as a result.
No.
Yeah, because at that time, American troops says, we are very scared of the power of Japanese soldiers. And even the colored people can stood up, even they are smaller than European people, they can fight with us. They realized that. That's why they did the atomic bomb, because of scared. So that's why try to destroy Japan. So that's happened. Then let's pray and take action for the people who became sacrificed to create a society where Africa, Asians, and the Caucasians, European people, were fundamentally equal, and to make Asians and Africans independent. Okay, so that is we aim, and the Buddha aim too. And then in this Kyoten book, spiritual message from guardian spirit Ryuho Okawa clearly said, Master Ryuho Okawa has 3 missions to complete in this world. That is, one is stop white supremacy, still remaining in their mind. So, and then we have to show all races equal and equal opportunity we should have. That is the first point. And then, of course, as a result of effort, the result should be different, but measured by their own effort only. Okay, that is the first point he wants to say. The second point he wants to complete in this world is stop materialism. If they think this body is myself, racial discrimination has never ended. So that's why we need to think this body is just a vehicle, car you drive. What you have been thinking is yourself. So if everyone can admit this is as new common sense, the racial and racial discrimination will be stopped. Okay, that is the second point, his mission. And the third point, that is reform Islam into the greater one. So now if you check the Quran, some misunderstanding happen, and that becomes like a cause of war. And then he didn't say like a destroy system of Islam. He said reform. Reform means he will reveal the real intention of Allah. That is same as El Kantar. Okay, the fundamental God, what he invented through Quran. Okay, then this world becomes peaceful. All right, and then but some people dislike Islam because of kind of the prejudice. We need to check it and also correct it. Okay, so these 3 missions he has had in this life. So that's why this lecture also very important. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Master. Okay. Then that's why this one was surrounded by conspiracy. And then what happened? I will show you the last one. Again, World War II. Why it happens?
今、我々の政治的な意見としては、先の戦勝国が立てた戦後体制が正しいという考え方に対してもう一度見直しをかけています。私はそうした日本の戦前の国家神道を中心とする動きが必ずしも軍の暴走と宗教が結びついて起きた邪悪なる活動であって、世界の人々を苦しめたというふうに考えているわけではありません。それより以前に前に、今、中国や韓国等が、日本から侵略を受けたことについて、手この手でいろいろと揺さぶりをかけておりますけれども、アヘン戦争、1840年から42年のアヘン戦争で、清国は敗れて、ヨーロッパ列強に国を切り取られて植民地化されてきたことは事実です。日本よりもはるかに前にヨーロッパに植民地されてきて、切り取られてきたんです。中国は、日清戦争に敗れた後、今度は、ロシアと日本で、これを打ち破る。要するに、日清戦争において賠償として取られたものを三国干渉によって取り返したわけだけれども、ロシアが戦って勝てるものだと思ったところが、ロシアも日本に敗れた。これによって、欧米列強によるアジア、アフリカ植民地体制が壊れに入って、戦後を次々と独立していくきっかけになった。アメリカとは3年半余りの戦いを通して、尊い犠牲は出しましたけれども、それにも増して、世界全体で、主だった国丸ごとの植民地というのがなくなっていったということは、人類史においては大きな大きな前進だったと私は思います。欧米列強たちは植民地をいっぱい作りましたね。アフリカはどこですか、植民地にしたのはね。これはみんなヨーロッパの国でしょう。先進国たちでしょう。ケーキを切り取るように植民地にしてきた。ね。アメリカだってじゃあどこも取ってないからさ、このハワイとハワイは南アメリカですか？あれは違うんですよ。太平洋の物じゃないですからね。あんなところにアメリカがあるはずがないんで、それはインディアンがいなくなったら出すわ言っただけのことでしょうね。サイパンはアメリカですか？やってますよね。みんな取ってるんですよ。だから、国の力強くなったら、出ていくと、取っていって領土を増やして、国の財産を増やしてというところですね。そういうことですので、日本が先の大戦において、確かに、アジアの人たちに対して戦争において被害を出して苦しめた点については反省する必要はあるけれども、欧米の人たちが全く反省してないという事実も歴史的には知ってた方がいいですよと。もし、欧米の方が植民地を作っても何ら罪もないけれども、日本だけは罪があるというようだったら、これ人種差別以外のものでもないだろうと思うんですね。逆に言うと、日本は敗戦ということで原爆まで落とされて、ひどい目に遭いましたけど、これも有色人種だから原爆を落とされたら間違いないとは思いますけど、白人じゃないから原爆落としても構わないということで、白人の国のとしてはそれは大変な日なんでしょうから、実験にやられたのは間違いないんですけども、日本が敗戦にはなったけれども、でアジア、アフリカの植民地はみんな独立していった。欧米圏から独立していって植民地が良くないということになった。もし植民地がいいことだったら、日本がやったことだっていいことになっちゃいますので、日本がやったことを悪いことを断罪した結果、自分たちがやった植民地も経緯もやっぱり良くないということになって、結局植民地はなくなっていく傾向になってきて、流れ的にはそうやってずっと押し返して、植民地の方が押し返されてきて、チベットみたいな勝手にパッと取られたやつでも今言われているということですよね。 こうした公民権運動からの平等化活動の流れがもし全部やるならば、アメリカ国家において全部やるならば、グローバルな意味において、世界各地において、皮膚の色や民族の違いによって差別され、優越国と劣等国があって、劣等国は奴隷的に搾取されても文句は言えないんだという思想を打ち砕くことを世界規模で試みた、国があったとしたならば、その国は世界の誇りであるべきだと私はむしろ思います。私は日本の国はかつてのギリシャやローマに決して見落とすことのない、歴史的に素晴らしいものを持ったものだと思います。講座いろいろあったかと思いますけれども、少なくとも項の一つとしては、有色人種への差別、劣勢民族であるので、植民地で仕方ないんだという欧米の論理が崩れたというところはやっぱり大きくて、これを功績として認められるべきです。で、日独に三国協定って何だとしたら、同居協定だったわけで、共産主義の広がりを防ぐためのこれは協定だったんで、日独に三国同盟は。だったらアメリカがソ連や中国、共産主義と戦後戦ったのは一体何だったのかという問題が出てくると思うんですね。まあ、そういう意味であれば、やっぱり、世界最強国でありますけれども、やっぱり、歴史認識とは何かということを、やはり強いがゆえに、自らを振り返ることも大事なんじゃないかと思います。それによってアジアでの歴史認識の違いによるですね、憎しみや今後の戦争の火種のところを消し込むこともできるんじゃないかと思います。だから中国、韓国だけでなくですね、アメリカに対してもちゃんとフェアにもう一回考えましょうよということは言いたいというふうには私は思いますね。
This should be the Bible, the very old one. Okay. Thanks. In this book means this one. Oh, sorry. This book, December 2011, Freedom Betrayed, Herbert Hoover, the 31st President of the United States was published. What he said in sister book. In this book, the President of the United States of America, Mr. Herbert Clark, said, I said that all of the war with Japan was the desire of a madman, Roosevelt, wanting to enter the war. MacArthur also agreed, and financial sanctions in July 1941. It was not only provocated, but even if it became forced into a state where he had to wait. Sanctions are to carry out all war acts other than the slaughter and destruction, and said any countries were not tolerable in countries that respect the dignity. Okay, that is happened. 1941. Victory of defeat in this world not only the yardstick to judge where justice lies. We must carefully examine motives and aspirations. What would have happened if Japan had not fought in the Greater East Asia War, World War II? For 4 years, Japan once drove the Makassar out of the Philippines, expelled the Netherlands from Indonesia, and France from Vietnam. It also sank the unsinkable British battleship HMS, that is a ship name, and the Prince of Wales by aircraft attacks, which were inconceivable at that time. If Japan had not taken the decisive action and launched the reckless infile operation, that is in India, okay, in which many lives were lost, would it have been possible for India to free itself from 150 years of colonization? If 2 atomic bombs had never been dropped on Japan on account of it being a country of the yellow race, would the brave determination to launch the movement to achieve independence in Asia and Africa colonies ever have arisen? If Japan was in the wrong, why, after World War II, did the Korean War and the Vietnamese War occur? Those words written in this kyoten. I have an English version, but sold half today. Afterwards. So, one of the big themes of challenge that world will face from 21st century onwards is the possibility of major war. China, the world's last materialistic superpower, has a population of 1.4 billion and is building its military strength. It has nuclear missiles and nuclear submarines and is trying to build an aircraft carrier force. China is aiming for the hegemony in Asia if things continue in vain. I predict that China will launch its war of domination sometime around 2020 to 2030. Now it's happening, right?
Yeah.
And that time when happy science says that golden age will arrive, it will probably be around then that they launch a war out of contempt for America. From the lecture entitled of the importance of exploration of the lifetime.
Yeah.
That is a prediction by him. Now happening. See,
True.
right? So let's conclude. Again, the last war in what the Japanese military tried to do was revolution. That is the conclusion of this lecture, okay? And then now we have to change the common sense. All races exactly have to reflect their own history and have right view. Okay. So throwaway prejudice and what is wrong, what is right. They need to learn from happy science and Masaru Okawa. He's a very fair person who loves America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. That's why he traveled 5 continents so far. Even if they had a wrong idea, but he tried to change it and put right view. So, again, let's pray and take action for the people who became a sacrifice to create a society where blacks, yellows, and whites were fundamentally equal, and to make Asians and Africans independent. That's why he will have this lecture, 7th July. It's titled Breaking Through the Easy View of Life. We have to amend our mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then sincerely reflect. Otherwise, this world civilization will collapse at that time. You already read the novel. It's predicted by their own mistakes. So that's why we need to stop it. So and then maybe many of people think status quo will continue, but it's not. Without any reflection, we cannot go forward. That's why he recommend reflected, have a right face in their mind. Okay, so that is happened. 7th July, his birthday. And also after that, every day we will open to show this great lecture for the people. And you realize that we have a common sense, but that is like a course given by like Western educational system. That works some point. That's good point. That has good point. But as long as you are talking about historical education, that's wrong. So that's why we dare tell you the throwaway course, bad mindset. To remove the course, we make great movie. After the lecture, we will show all over the world. Yeah, okay, that is here.
呪い。それは人の不幸を願う思い。死ね。死ね。
神はなぜ信仰深い人間の病気も治ってない。最年少で就任した天童翼さんです。お父さん、大丈夫ですか。早く入院しろ。
呪い返し師っているんだ。私は呪い返し師よ。私は仏法に使えるものである。自分に死にたいなんて呪いをかけないでください。人の幸福を壊す生きるを許すまじ。自分自身の正体を知れ。それでは笑いましょう。悲しい日々は守る。
Okay, this movie shown to public, not only this temple. Maybe we plan to have this movie shown outside, but I'd like everyone to watch it because this movie itself has a power to remove costs from everywhere in this world. Costs, yes, and then like called common sense, and then we can break through those common sense into the right one. So we need to remove the cost from this world by the power of this movie. That's why we like to show this movie as many as possible. And until the end of this month, you can offer some offerings to this movie. I already told you that one unit should be 700 pounds. But even if less than that, please cooperate with that. Okay, so that we can rent a venue for this movie. Okay, so and then this one, and then also another good news is Mr. Yamada, who is the director of the international division, will come to us next Sunday. Okay, actually Sunday to Wednesday, he will stay this temple and conduct some seminar and also conduct a great keynote that is called Prayer for Prosperity, special spiritual guidance from God Hermes. Okay, so this prayer would be conducted next Sunday, I believe, and then or Wednesday. Okay, after seminar and Wednesday, weekday. And then maybe only Wednesday, but not sure. I will announce that. But this is a fantastic one. If you try to apply this Kigan as an individual, that will take like 700. But this time, not 700. If you do it the group as group Kigan, that will take the donation, the suggested donation, 2,100. But this time, one person, if you apply only 210, you can apply this Kigan, fantastic one from God Hermes, one of the brother soul of El Cantar. It goes, "Oh Hermes, I have heard that wealth is stored ultimately in the great universe. please connect my heart to the pipe to infinite wealth in the universe. Okay, so I pledge that I will renew my mind from today, live for love, and strongly move forward to create utopia. Then Hermes come to you to connect you to the infinite wealth through the pipe, then to your heart, pipe going through to your heart, and then you got great motivation. As long as one condition, as long as you pledge to work for others' happiness, not for your benefit, Hermes will give you the pipe. It through into the universe, infinite wealth. Okay, and not only that, like this, where all wealth in the great universe, please flow into me through the pipe of light from the Hermes. Please today onwards, I can prosper economically and live with confidence. Then, please grant my family and relatives prosperity as well. So here we pledge to brighten the future of the world, work for world, and by having a tolerant and a peaceful mind. I don't read everything, but part of the prayer I read. Okay, so if your wish becomes like this, you can become infinite wealth itself, who can give anything to others to make this world utopia. So if you pledge that, the infinite wealth come into you through the golden pipe. That's why I'd like to everyone join this Kigan prayer. Okay, so until Sunday, we can accept any offerings. Okay, of course, if you want to donate for that, like instruments, Tokyo headquarters accept that. Okay, so like 1 month, like 40, 50 pounds a month or something like that, you can do it. Anyway, if you wish, please write down and give to the donation to Happy Science, and then you can join this fantastic ceremony after Sunday or Wednesday. Okay, next one. Mr. Yamada come have a lecture next week from 3 p.m. That is titled "The Spiritual Revolution Has Started Now Here." So because Masaoka choose this country, UK, has should be the starting point of spiritual revolution. That will started from UK instead of industrial revolution. That 200 years ago, the industrial revolution has happened, but this time the spiritual revolution will happen from this country, UK. That is a prediction by Masayu Hoka. Please join this movement as many as possible. Not only you, but your friends, family members, colleagues, neighbors, please take them here next week. That is a memorial day for us. That should be 19th of June, Memorial Day. I'd like to make it a memorial day of this country. At that time, we declare that the spiritual revolution. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For today's one.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
Take bow. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye now. And after that, from 5:05, we will start Zoom meeting for this lecture. Okay. Thank you for joining us today. See you.